Welcome to the EKG Guy. If this is your first time, I'm glad you're joining us. Now, many of you have asked for me to put a lecture together on COVID-19 and what are the cardiovascular effects. And well, this is quite hard because, every day there's new things that are evolving and there's still a lot that we don't know. But there's a few studies that are out that can give us a brief idea of what we do know and what we should look for. Okay. Fortunately, here at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, we haven't been hit as hard as some of the others, such as in New York City or New Jersey and elsewhere. And so for those that are caring for patients in anywhere, and even those that are staying home, really thank you for all you're doing. Everyone's help in this effort is really important. So let's take a look at this. So coronavirus disease 2019, or COVID-19 as it's called, is the pandemic we're all facing now. It's a global public health crisis that really is something we've never seen, and many have not seen ever in their lifetime. The epicenter is likely Wuhan, China, but the true source is unclear. Some have suggested the transmission from bats to humans. Some have suggested even a laboratory in China that may be the source of it, but really we don't know just yet. As of today, April 21st, 2020, there are almost 2.5 million cases in 185 countries around the world. There are over 170,000 deaths. And what's great, though, is that there's been over 652,000 recoveries to date. Okay. So that's really important. We always focus on the deaths, and I really want to know that there are a lot of people that are recovering this. In fact, the natural course, while it's still unclear, it's often mild. Although why we say it could be severe is because there's even young adults that were previously healthy that are now being hospitalized, needing intubation, and some of them even dying from this. Okay, so it's still unclear what is the natural course of the disease and why are some affected differently than others. Now, what we do see is that the most vulnerable are the elderly, so those with advanced age, those with cardiovascular disease, and that's what we'll focus on here, pulmonary disease, so lung disease, if they're smokers, diabetics, hypertension, and those that are immunocompromised, such as those with cancer or other immunocompromised conditions. Now, the infection and what we see in the cardiovascular effects is that it increases the risk of acute coronary syndrome, okay, and that's ACS here. And some may even think that it may bring about heart failure exacerbations, given that stress that you're seeing from the infection, and even developing into a acute or fulminant myocarditis. Now, there's a few proposed mechanisms that we've seen for the ACS picture, okay, and they all start with the infection here as the onset. Okay, so you get this COVID-19 infection, and the first proposed mechanism is that this results in an increased myocardial demand, and as a result leads to myocardial injury, and that's where you see the troponin leak as a surrogate marker for the myocardial injury. And this is similar to what we see in a type 2 myocardial infarction, a demand type. Okay. The other proposed mechanism is that this infection causes systemic inflammation, resulting in an increase and elevated in the circulating pro-inflammatory cytokines, which then results in plaques becoming unstable and then rupturing in the coronary arteries and leading to that myocardial injury and almost a heart attack type picture that results in a troponin leak. Okay. Now, there's a few studies out. There's two that are out from China that may give us an idea. Now, whether these are generalizable to the U.S. or other countries and population is unclear. So the first study is from the Shi. Both of them are in JAMA Cardiology and just recently published at the end of March. The first study has 416 patients they looked at. These were all hospitalized and confirmed positive COVID-19 patients. And what they did here is they were looking at really what is the incidence of this, and are there markers that can help tell us predict and help us with assessing how critically ill these patients are. And they use a surrogate marker for myocardial injury as the high sensitivity troponin I. Okay, and what they saw is those that had a high troponin made up 82 of those patients. And of those 82 patients that had a high troponin, over 50% of them died. So the mortality rate was 51.2%. 42 of the 82 that had a high troponin died in the hospital. Okay. This is in-hospital mortality rates. However, those that had a normal troponin, which were 335, so the most majority of them, only 15 of them died. Okay, so 4.5%. So as you can see, having an elevated troponin in those patients increased the risk of death, or at least was associated with it. And what they also noticed is that the greater degree of troponin rise, the greater the mortality rate as well. Okay, so among those with an elevated troponin, the higher the degree it was, the increased the mortality rate was. So that's the first study. The second study, again published in JAMA Cardiology at the end of March, was one that had 187 confirmed cases. Okay, so the 187 hospitalized COVID-19 patients confirmed. And again, they used troponin as the marker of myocardial injury. They used troponin T in this case. And what they found is that, again, looking at mortality rate, an increase in troponin T in those, they had about 52 of those patients, almost 60% of them died. Okay, so the mortality rate of those was 60%. Now those with a normal troponin, which was 135, only about 9% of them died. Okay, and that's not to discount the deaths of those that had low troponins, but this is something we should look out for. These high troponins being a marker of myocardial injury, really stressing the body, are a marker of worse prognosis. And what they also looked at is, if you look at this as a mortality rate, this being more of a low end of it, and this is the high end of the mortality rate, those with cardiovascular disease but a normal troponin had about a 13.3% mortality rate. Okay, if you had no cardiovascular disease but you had a high troponin, your rate was even higher. Okay, 37.5%. Those are those without cardiovascular disease and elevated troponins. Now, if you had both cardiovascular disease, okay, a previously diagnosed, and elevated troponin, your risk of mortality was near 70%. Meaning that an elevated troponin combined with underlying heart disease had the worst prognosis. Another thing they noted in the study was that the troponin levels were associated with C-reactive protein, so CRP, and the NT-proBNP levels. And this may suggest that the myocardial injury due to inflammation, these markers may be a surrogate of how severe the injury is, and maybe be associated with the ventricular dysfunction that may be associated with those elevated BNP levels. And what they noted is that there was a poor prognosis if you had progressively increasing troponin and BNP levels versus those that had stable and low levels where they did not rise and just stayed low had a favorable outcome. Okay. Now there are a few takeaways that I want to leave you with here. Okay, myocardial injury is common in these patients that are confirmed COVID-19 patients. Okay, and they're associated with an increased risk of in-hospital mortality. We looked at a few proposed mechanisms that may result in this ACS picture, one being the increase in myocardial demand from the infection resulting in a type 2 like NSTEMI, okay, so that myocardial injury from the increased myocardial demand, and then also that systemic inflammation causing an increase in cytokines resulting in instability and rupture of a plaque and leading to myocardial injury. Okay, we said that if there was an increase in troponin levels and underlying cardiovascular disease, there was a worse prognosis. Again, it's unclear if we can really generalize these findings to other populations, including the U.S. But these are helpful to keep in mind as we start to assess and learn more about the disease. And the main thing here that you want to know is prevention is key. Everyone needs to do their part. The hand hygiene, the social distancing, all these play an important role. while they may not be direct effects, all these things minimize the spread and are very helpful. So hopefully this was helpful in giving you an idea of what the cardiovascular effects are from the disease. Again, there's still so much that we don't know. We're dealing with a new disease and gathering information so quickly. So hopefully this is the beginning of the end of something like this, and hopefully a vaccine is coming soon. Again, I thank you all for doing your part in helping control the spread of this disease. It's very helpful, and just continue to encourage your friends and family members to do the same. Well, I hope you learned something in this lecture, and have a wonderful day. Now, just to keep you in mind of our course material that we have available, so again, if you go to our website, www.ekg.md, okay, so this is our website, and what you'll notice is that if you go to the EKG course here, okay, you'll find stuff that's separate. So notice that we have a number of topics, practice material, lectures, a way for you to contribute, and this is the course here over here. So you'll notice we have over 300 videos or so, and that's more on YouTube. There's another 100, more than 100, about 200 videos that are available with the course. So those are separate videos, and this course is really designed to take you from a beginner to advanced interpreter. Okay, so completely separate from what you're getting online for free. Okay, these are course material that comes with it. So notice that you have a book. Okay, and then you also have the pocket guide available, so you can choose which format. They are the same thing, both these book and the pocket guide, different formats. I really like this small one because you can keep it in your white coat if you're in the clinic, or in your pocket, and it's really available on the go. Now with the book, you also get videos. So notice these are the videos, okay? And these are a video for every single page in that book. So it's over 30 hours of video. Now there's a number of practice material that I continue to upload there. Okay, we'll have practice questions coming soon. So all of that's available. Again, this is separate from all the free material that you get already. Okay, so this is more high yield stuff. This is what we used to teach our technicians here and our students here at Mayo Clinic. And it's used now among many institutions. So check that out. Now, what it also includes are calipers. So yes, you get calipers with this course. Okay. I don't know anyone else that offers that, but you do get calipers. I think they're very helpful, and they can, if you know how to use them correctly, can help to identify different arrhythmias that are going on. Okay. And then you also get our pocket Ekg reference. Okay, this was something we've put together as we were developing course for the fellows, and this is really nice. It has every code, as you saw earlier, laid out there. Very small pocket guide available. I had help with my colleague, Dr. Peter Noseworthy, who's the head of the EKG lab here at Mayo Clinic, in editing it. So this is something that we use, and we found very helpful. So go to the EKG course. You'll see examples of lectures, okay, why we developed this, okay. A lot of it came about from myself struggling with learning EKGs, having a father that was an interventional cardiologist, and, still struggling. So my struggle is a struggle that I don't want you to have in learning them, okay. You can read all those introductory books, but honestly, they are not enough, okay, and you find yourself using other resources, which is part of the learning process. I wanted to expedite that process for you and make it less inefficient in pretty much what I struggled with going and learning through EKG. So again, from beginner to advanced level with this course, you get the book, the calipers, the coding reference, video access, okay, and now we're offering 25% off. 25% off. Put that code in on checkout, and you'll have yourself 25% off. That will it's pretty much covers the cost of what we use to print the material. So we don't really make much off it. It's more to help our learners grow and really be able to contribute to patient care. That's why we do this, and we love doing it. So thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them below, and we're happy to answer them. All right, have a great day.